Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today at Black Therapists Speak. This is a gathering of therapists, Black therapists from both the United States and Canada who work in mental health and addictions with people who are dealing with the myriad of different life-altering events. We gather together and we just discuss the issues of the day. Right now, we're focused on the impact of COVID, the impact of the multitude of deaths that are happening within the Black community at the hands of the police. And we're dealing with intergenerational trauma and general cultural issues that pertain to Black wellness overall, but not specific and only to Black wellness. But I wanted to develop a platform for all of us to sort of gather together and share our wisdom, to share our experiences, and to let everybody know that we're here, we're educated and well equipped to deal with the work at hand, to undo the issues of trauma and loss and abuse and neglect, silence, abandonment, mistreatment. We're here. And in fact, we as Black therapists, we speak. Thanks for joining.
All right.
All's well. Hi there, Miss Ariel. Welcome
Hi.
to Black Therapists Speak. I'm so delighted that we sorted everything out and we've managed to get here on time.
Absolutely.
Whatever that may be.
Yes.
Why don't you just take a few minutes to explain who you are and what brings you to Black Therapist Speaks today?
Okay. So my name is Ariel Stephens. I'm currently doing school-based therapy for middle school kids, grades 6 through 8. I have all of them. They send me referrals. I talk to parents when I can. But mostly I've adapted to wanting to work with children. I'm fairly new in the therapy world, but I've always had a passion to want to help people. And I've always had this curiosity to figure out why people respond or react to the things that they do. So I've always been intrigued to do that. And then when I learned that people do that out of many different things, it brought me into, okay, well, how can we figure out a way to help them react differently? So that's pretty much my story. And
how did you come by the job that you currently have? Like, what were you doing? How did you come by this?
So I was actually getting my master's in Washington, D.C. And I decided that I didn't want to stay in that area to service. I was like, one is too high, and I like money, and I don't want to see it go away too fast.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me go back to Florida, work on getting my license in Florida, because both my parents are here. My other brother is here, so I'm like, with my parents, they're not old, but they're like getting to that point where they have ailments, and if I have to be back here, reciprocity would be easier for me to come back if I ever moved out and had to come home for my parents. So I was like, let me try to come back home first. And then I got plenty of interviews from a couple of places to do therapy. It was one at a juvenile detention center.
Okay,
And I walked in there and about had a panic attack myself.
Oh.
So I'm claustrophobic, in certain spaces.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they were like, hey, you can't have your phone and you can't have your keys. I'm like, wait, whoa, what you mean?
Yeah.
I have to be able to like at least know a way that I can protect myself. And
No.
once they closed that door, I couldn't get out on my own.
Yeah, no, no.
So I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. There was another one. It was not gonna be very helpful for
No,
me or
yeah.
them. And it was an all male facility. So I
Okay.
was like, they were like, are you okay with, you know, certain things happening to you? Like, they were like, don't worry about physical aggression. They won't get physical with you. I'm like, okay. So y'all had to put that in there. But that was like one of four.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to work with kids. So
Excellent.
when the opportunity presented itself, I was
Jump at.
like, this seems like the best idea. And then they also gave me the I can get someone to help me with my licensure because we have to have a qualified supervisor and all of that. So I was like, ooh, this sounds really good.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I did the adult thing during my internship. And I realized that I do still want to work with families and marriages, but for right now, I'm solely wanting to like work with kids right now.
It's interesting what you'll find. I've done all of those things. I've worked with youth detention, and actually adult detention as well. And I know the anxiety of you know what, I can't have phone, can't have keys.
Exactly.
But oddly enough, you get used to it. Like I got used to it, and but you have to know yourself. So it's good that you know yourself enough to know that that's not an environment for you.
Yeah.
And then I've also worked with adults, and I've worked with youth, and I've worked with children. And what I find is I started out working with youth and children, right?
Okay.
And then I went to work with adults, and I found it's the same work. You might think
Exactly.
you're doing something else, but really you're always working with that inner child.
Yeah.
Even with an adult, even with adult circumstances and situations, it's the things that were unresolved from childhood that are causing the adult distress. That's at least what I found.
Yes, and that's been the hardest part. That's been the hardest part, like with kids, they've never experienced that before. So how can we get them to resolve that while they're still a child? So where when they get to an adult, they don't even want to acknowledge that they've been hurt as a child. So now they're acting like a child and not wanting to resolve what they've been through. So I found that that's been the struggle with me. And then I had like veterans on top of them being adults. So I was like, "Ooh, I need a nap in between every client." And I realized I was like, "Okay, wait, I need something to like break this up a little bit." And it was even worse because I didn't have a lot of support during that time.
Oh no.
So it was like me and my colleagues, me and my classmates that were in the internships together, we literally would pull each other in our offices and would have our own supervision and our own consultations. Because we were like, no one wants to believe us at the school. The people here are only worried about the check. The CEO has no clue what mental health is at all. And it was just hilarious, but it was so draining. And like, I was like, I need kids. I need kids. I need the kids right now. So it's definitely been interesting.
So you were able to identify, even in the midst of that situation, that you needed more than what the school and your environment was offering. And as a team of colleagues, you band together and supported one another?
Yes, and we were there for a year. We spent our practicum, internship 1 and internship 2 at the same location. And we had been begging for some sort of support we started in like August, and by November, we were begging for some help because our supervisor that was there ended up leaving because his father got sick. And
Oh,
then they were trying to bring in somebody else who didn't do supervision,
okay.
and she wasn't with any of that. So it was kind of like she would be like, I tell you to do something, you need to do it. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
okay, well, that's not really helping me or the client right now, because you're telling
yeah,
me to do
yeah,
something the client doesn't want. So how can we meet in the middle to figure out the best way to help the client and still give
yeah.
them their fidelity in their treatment? Like, it's their treatment, not ours.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
it was, yeah, that was an experience for sure.
Wow.
So everything that I do at this point, I told my bosses before they hired me in my interview, they were like, what's one thing your previous, like your people at your internship would say about you? I said, well, they will tell you that I ask a lot of questions and I don't just follow through just because. And I was
Yeah,
like, and if you as my supervisor can't be okay or aren't okay with someone who asks a lot of questions, then this may not be the place for me, because if something doesn't make sense, or if I don't understand it, or if I want to make sure that it's something that's best for me and my client, I'm
yeah,
going to ask. I'm going to say
yeah, yeah.
something. I'm always going to speak up about it. And so she was just like, oh, okay. And she had learned, she's learned very quickly, if it doesn't make sense, like, I don't know how you guys do treatment plans. I don't know how you do them, or if you guys have something similar to Medicaid,
Uh,
but
we might, but I've never done it depends on who you're working with. Um,
mhm.
some of the therapists up here do use or support like the insurance companies and these sort of, or not support the insurance companies, but they bill directly to insurance. But
Mhm.
I've never done that.
Okay.
So this is something, Medicaid clearly is something that y'all do.
Yes, Medicaid is state funding.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are the other insurance companies that people can go through as
Oh,
well.
okay.
But with the state funding, what ends up happening is there's certain guidelines and certain policies and certain procedures that you have to go through. And so when you go to do the treatment plan,
Oh,
like with the SMART goal, you can be like, client will have 2 to 3, will identify and implement 2 to 3 goals
yeah.
based on whatever. They
Okay.
want you to put, my boss was like, you need to put, Jane Doe will be able to learn and implement 2 to 3 goals with the therapist each session. I'm like, for what? Why would I need to? That doesn't make sense. And I was like, even dealing with Medicaid or state funding, they obviously realize this is a mental health treatment plan
Yeah.
that you're doing with your therapist. So why would I need to put in the objective, not the goal, in
Uh,
the objective for the goal, that we're working on this goal with the therapist each session? Like, that's redundant. So then when I get to the note, I have to put that in the note and then put in the note what we did to go along with the goal or part of that goal and the objective. And I was like, that's redundant.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, it makes no sense. And I'm like, moving back to Florida has been a culture shock in
Okay.
my therapist training,
Okay.
because I know you're supposed to be thorough,
Yeah.
but they still have to come and ask you, because a part of that is still protecting the client and like not putting all the information out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
like, she was like, no, it has to be like that, because then Medicaid's going to be like, well, who's doing that with them? And I'm like, that's the point of the treatment plan, is to say, this is what we're doing as a therapist and client. This is what we're working on. These are the goals that we collectively, collaboratively set to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
why would I need to put that, unless I'm bringing in a parent or a sibling or a teacher or something like that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's always a learning curve.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm always willing to be like, hey, that's not making sense to me, so
Yeah.
help me understand why we're
Yeah.
doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. The documentation is always a point of conversation with every single therapist. Things are required for certain billing, or even certain organizations require billing in a certain way. Um, or pardon me, require documentation in a certain way that is sometimes nonsensical, and for whatever their reason, you just have to respond to their thing. But I've often been in situations where those things just don't make sense. They don't make sense.
And I'm realizing that anytime you work for an organization like that, it's never going to make sense.
No,
everything is going to be different.
They're walking down a different agenda, and they're ticking off their own boxes that require you to tick off boxes, which is fine. Which is fine. I don't. My after years and years of doing this, I learned that you got to pick your battles, and I would much rather fight over being able to provide support to my clients than how I'm going to freaking write it down. I don't give it how I'm going to write it down. I don't care.
I just needed to understand, because she was like, you did it all wrong. And I was like, wait, you want me to redo this entire treatment plan? Like, I don't understand. Okay, but now that I understand, I've done it your way the entire time. But if it comes to how we do things for the client and it doesn't make sense, I am fussing. That's why my school probably is tired of me too.
Yeah. That's the big, well, and as you go through this whole process of, falling into your niche and doing the work that you do and meeting the needs of the clients before you, there are so many much bigger battles that you have to fight than how you write them down. But that's a learning curve for sure. I've been doing this since the 80s, actually. But formally, I started my company in 96. So trust me, you pick your battles. And you really do. One of the first questions I ask when I go to a new organization is, how do you document? Show me documentation. So that, because everybody and every system does it differently. It's crazy. But speaking of your clients, what kinds of things about working with children make you happy?
You're never going to know what you're going to get. I have, sometimes I'll document some of the things that they've said that have been absolutely hysterical. Last year, one of my clients, she told me she had midterm anger. And I was like, what does that even mean? And for me, with my kids, I tell my kids, a part of my speech when they first meet me, I tell them, I am Miss Stephens. I will be your therapist. And what that means is I'll be here to support you when you have a need for it. And right now, that everyone around you wants to rally around you and be there for you. But here's where I need you to help me and not judge me, because I have ADHD in the worst way. So sometimes I can be in the middle of talking to you and I'll forget what I'm saying, or I'll be in the middle of, telling you one story, and then we'll both jump to another one, and then I'll forget. Don't judge me. Just help me out, and help me remember. And if you can't remember either, we'll just go to something else, and it's totally fine. Because I seriously, I was formally diagnosed when I was a kid. My mom and her sister took me and my cousin to get tested. But the doctor told them they don't need no medicine. They need constant structure and constant redirection. And boy, did I get it. So I've learned how to be in the room with my kids, as well as kind of set my ADHD to the side so I can be in the room. So that's the biggest thing, because they can say some of the most off the wall things. They teach me new stuff every day. I realize I'm not old, but to them I'm old. And
absolutely.
and I'm because they be bringing up artists And, you know, I love music, so it's not like I shouldn't know any of these people, but I don't know any of these people. Like, I don't know any of these artists that they're bringing up. I don't listen to the radio. I have my music on my phone, and I have it set up to where my Pandora is kid friendly. Okay. So if they want to listen to certain artists, cool, but it's gonna be, you know, the G-rated version, as G-rated as possible, rather. Yeah. So some of the people they listen to, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But and they're just kids that want to know somebody is like there and human.
Yeah.
So
corner, yeah.
It's I play this game with them. I play a card game, and if they win around, they get to ask me whatever question they want. Nothing's off limits. Maybe none of them have asked me any off the wall questions, but some of the questions are like, do you have a boyfriend, or have you ever dated a guy before, or what's your favorite color and stuff like that. So I allow them to get to know me as I'm getting to know them. And so they feel comfortable, because I'm like, you can't just walk in with these kids and say, hey, you have to talk to me because I'm an adult. They don't care about that. So I think what makes me happy is like the kids just finding a space, but also their characters. So the greatest part is always never knowing what's going to happen day to day, because they are hilarious. I never have a dull day when I'm with my kids.
So do you see them is it a classroom setting? Is it a center? Like, where do you see the kids?
So I have my own office in the school, so I will go pick them up from class, and then we'll do our sessions. Sometimes I'll take them outside. Yeah. I have a basketball. I need to get me a football. I keep saying that and keep forgetting to get it. Because I have boys, and I realize with boys, they need a lot of hands-on stuff. Yeah. So I can get them to do just about anything if they can go outside. So sometimes we'll go to the track if the weather is nice, if it's not too hot, because Florida likes to stay hot 12 months a year. So it's definitely, sometimes being in the room all the time just doesn't work, especially if they're sitting in class all day. Yeah. So it depends. Like sometimes, like right now, it's the weather keeps flip-flopping, so I may do a session this week. Like I may do some of their sessions outside, depending on if it's raining or not. Because like right now it's raining, so I had to close the window so I don't get distracted or sleepy.
So what about with COVID? Has that impacted what happens with the kids in school? Because were the schools open since, like, what happened with your school and the kids since COVID?
So actually, when COVID hit, we were in the middle of spring break. So we were finishing up our spring break week, and they had extended it. They weren't going to extend it another week. They were going to make them come back to school. But then when they realized, like, nah, we got to ease up, they extended it another week, and that's when everybody had to be shut down.
That's right. Okay.
So when they realized we were being shut down until like April, they were like, okay, let's do everything virtual. They set up a virtual classroom for the kids to finish out the school year. Yeah. And then they started making a plan and got to allow parents to make a decision about this school year, where they had different options where you could have your child totally on virtual school. Okay. Or you can have them, but their schedule will still be able to transition back into school once COVID ever is over. Yeah. Or you can take them completely out of the school and do Florida virtual or homeschool altogether. Okay. And then the other option was allow your kids to come back to school. However, from August 20th, when they started school, until last Monday, they were doing hybrid learning. So basically the kids would come to school, but each grade, there was no more than 2 grade levels on campus at a time. Oh. Yes. So the 6th graders were there the longest. They were there 4 days out of the week. They were only home on Wednesdays.
Okay.
7th grade is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then 8th grade was Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So they had
Okay.
them split up that way until last Monday.
Okay.
So now everybody's back in school 5 days a week if you chose the option to send your kid to school.
Okay. So
Yeah.
are their numbers in the school less than they were pre-COVID?
Yes. We have half our kids. It's about 1,200 kids on a normal day.
Okay.
And right now we have about 500 to 400 kids on campus right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So a
Everybody
lot of
else
parents was
opted,
like,
everybody else opted to keep their kids at home.
mm-hmm.
So
And
what?
actually, some of the kids that are supposed to be in school, the parents have still decided to keep them home. And so now they're calling, fussing because the option for online is no longer there. They have to physically be in school. And they took away the option to allow parents to come and say, hey, I want my kid in Duval homeroom. So
Ooh.
until the second quarter, parents can even opt out of Duval homeroom and bring them back to school for the second quarter.
Okay.
So, and that's not until like October 19th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does, in terms of your services for the kids who are staying home, do they still have access to you as a therapist?
Yes. Because of the process of how I even get my caseload, I'm at the mercy of the school and how they give out referrals. So
Right.
if they feel that the child needs it, they can fill out the referral and then it has to go to so I have 4 bosses.
Oh, yeah.
The company I actually work for, and then the school district, and then the lady within the school district. No, I'm sorry, the school district. Then the program that I'm working for, which is full service schools, and then the people in the school. So I have 4 different bosses and 4 different layers of things that I have to
Right.
follow. So it
So
definitely gets tricky.
how long do you, or maybe you don't know the answer to this question, but how long would it take from the point of, say, the parent identifying there's a need and asking for the support of a therapist to that referral ending up on your desk? Do you know how long that might be?
So depending on who they talk to, actually very quickly.
Okay.
So if they get a hold of their school counselor, it can be to me within the same day.
Oh, that's good.
But if it's like a situation that's happened, and then because the district, the people in IT, they have a department where they're actually monitoring what the kids put into the computer.
Yeah.
So it could be if they look up anything that could be remotely questionable, like one of the kids that I do have currently, he was looking up a lyric from this rapper named Juice WRLD, and apparently Juice WRLD was very dark and like suicidal almost. Like a lot of his lyrics were very interesting. So it got dinged because he was looking up his lyrics. He was actually researching him in general because there's this big conspiracy that he faked his death. So I'm like, that makes no sense to me. But I was listening to him and I was thoroughly intrigued because I didn't know anything about this artist. So when he got dinged for it, it ended up on his school counselor's desk. School counselor called the parent. She said, hey, I have a referral for you, and the referral was to me within the hour. So
because it's identified as an emergency situation, so there needs to be an immediate response.
Yeah, and anytime they send the referral to the social worker that's under that full service umbrella, it has to go through them first for them to put it in their files before they send it to me. Like no one can just walk in and hand me a referral on my desk. Like it has to go through her. And so if she's at work, like at her desk, I never have an issue with getting it within the hour. Now, from me getting the referral to actually doing services, that is where the question becomes, how quickly does that happen? Yeah, because parent involvement at my school is like 20%. So I can be calling the parent for at least 2 weeks before I even get
Yeah.
a response to
Yeah.
get the packet, or I can get a response the same day and send the packet home the same day, but won't get the packet back for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
And
definitely
those things
becomes,
you have no control over, like those things you have no control over or minimal control
right.
over. But I was just curious at the point of, like, if a parent was the one to request the service, my
Oh, if they
assumption
requested it,
would
it's
be,
right away.
yeah, that they would be right away. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the one that's, yeah, if the parents
Mm-hmm.
requested the service, then it would
Yeah.
be a quick response. So how did how did COVID affect you personally, like work aside? Did it impact your life in general?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Um, I was blessed to still be able to keep my job, even though my hours were like virtually cut into a fourth of what I had. But um, no, the only thing it affected was like my licensure hours. I was hoping to be
Oh,
way further along,
yeah.
but personally, no. I was kind of living my best life in the house.
Yeah.
Um, I was at my best friend's house for all of COVID, and
Okay.
he had a puppy that was
Oh,
introduced to us way earlier than expected. So
okay.
when he had to go back to work, I was dog sitting. So, and he
Okay.
kept me on my toes. So I was like, this is why I don't need a puppy. This is why I don't want a puppy. Um, he's a beautiful boy, but Lord,
Oh.
they are no. Why ain't nobody warned me about puppies? And he grew like 4 sizes in
Oh
like a
God.
short, because he's a pit. We want to say a pit lab mix,
Okay.
because he's not full pit. He has a short fur, but he went from being like, he was like this big to now he can touch my shoulders when he on his 2 legs.
Oh.
So yeah, he's a big boy.
So you
But
spent COVID lockdown with this growing little puppy, um,
yes,
and your best friends,
yes,
and so
that's how
yeah,
I spent it.
I must admit too that COVID, outside of getting supplies in and
Mm-hmm.
things to me, there was really no difference um,
Mm-mm.
for me.
I'm already a homebody, and
Yeah,
that's not bad because I'm
it's not a bad
28.
thing at all.
Because my mom be like, "You young girl, you supposed to be going out." I said, "First off, for what? I'm no." And then people was like, "I need cleaning supplies. I need this." I was mad though because I do clean a lot.
Yeah.
I was already cleaning beforehand, and so people was laughing at me. They was like, "So wait, so how have this been with COVID?" I said, "I'm doing the same thing I was doing prior to COVID. When you
Exactly.
come in my room, I clean up, I disinfect everything because I'm not gonna get sick from none of y'all." And the
No.
kids is nasty. They come in with dirty fingernails, and I don't know why I have a problem with dirty fingernails, but I do. But they come in with dirty fingernails. They'll be coming from outside sweating.
Oh,
And
yeah.
sometimes I let them eat in my room. Like I'll let them have a snack or something. That's not, for me, listen, I know you go through a whole school day and sometimes you want a snack. I'm not mad about
Right.
that. So I'm like, yeah, no, go ahead, have your snack, or I pull them during lunch and they can eat their lunch while we chat. And sometimes I eat lunch with
Exactly.
them. So listen, no, I always used to clean and sanitize. We also did slime. So I always had to clean and was
Yeah.
constantly cleaning. So people was like, well, I need this. And I was like, listen, I already had some of this stuff. Now, if I want some more, now this is going to be the problem.
That's right.
And my best friend went and stocked up on
Good.
and on toilet paper, paper towels, because he was preparing for COVID part 2 and hurricane season.
Oh.
So he was racking up on,
Oh, right. Yes.
because knowing Floridians, outside of tourists, Floridians have this thing where like They live on the edge. Like for us, category 1 through 3 for a hurricane is like a hurricane party. It's
Okay.
we know it's a hurricane, and we go to one central location. We get our food, we get our booze, we
Oh,
get our water, and we make sure the glass is protected. And we in the house, we got movies, everything that you need for a hurricane is in the house. And then
oh,
we stay in the house
yeah.
until it's over. Now, category 4 and 5, depending on where we are in the city, we're like, okay, we might need to go on and find somewhere else to be. We might need to figure that out. But 1 through 3, it's like a hyper thunderstorm for us. And we're just like, I'm just going to stay away from the windows,
Yeah.
watch my movies, eat my snacks, and be okay.
Oh, wow.
That's the problem with Floridians.
You guys have hurricanes
So,
on a regular then?
yes, I think I moved here in 2003.
Okay.
In 2004, I think was the year they had 4 hurricanes back to back. And for 2 of them, we went back to Cleveland. We was like, nah, we ain't sitting in this because we don't know. And then afterwards, my mama fussed at me because I'm used to tornado warnings and snowstorms. So we were like, wait, you mean it's gonna rain and stuff is blowing over? What that mean? We gotta go. We're gonna go back to Cleveland and get out of Dodge. We came back, and me and my brother was like, so is this what a hurricane is? Because it was like a category 2 or a 3, so it was pretty rough outside. But we was just like, So I fell asleep, like looking for something under my brother's bed. Again, ADHD in the worst way. Half my body was by the window, half my body was under the bed.
Oh.
So I got in trouble because I was by the window.
Okay.
So, but
wow.
that biggest thing with COVID, like people been kind of treating it like a hurricane. Okay. And now that they're like, oh, it's not that bad. They're like, whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had another influx. I hope not, especially now that they got rid of the mask mandate.
Okay. See, it's interesting that you should say all this because knowing your the way you are with hurricanes and stuff, then it brings some light or sheds some light for me in terms of your response to COVID even. Because you're used to natural disasters and disasters happening on a regular. And you've already developed a temperament for, the presence of some sort of disaster. And so that makes sense. That makes more sense to me, understanding your response to the COVID and the intensity of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it also, though, because when they started staying in the house, I was like, you ain't got to tell me twice. I'm not going to put myself out there and be I'm already not that kind of person. Yeah. I don't like to be all up on the scene. I don't like to be everywhere. Listen, claustrophobic. I don't like, it's funny because some of my family members are like, how are you a therapist and don't like people? I love people when I need to love people. But when it's my time to do me and be me, I don't need to be around a lot of people. I am totally okay with being by myself in my room watching Disney. Yeah. And yes, I'm 28 and still watch Disney. It is. I'm like, people would really want to know what my self-care is. I will put on a Disney movie and that I've seen 50 million times and will still recite it like I'm 3 watching it for the first time. For me, that takes me out of how heavy the world can be. Yes. I don't need to be heavy all the time.
No, exactly. That was my next question. How do you deal with self-care? What do you do for self-care?
Besides musicals,
you like musicals?
I love musicals. It doesn't just have to be okay. Right now, my favorite is Once on This Island.
It's what?
Once on This Island. It's a Broadway show.
Oh, Once on This Island?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, it's one of my favorite. I'm so upset I wasn't able to see it in person, Corona. But let's see, my top 5: Mary Poppins, West Side Story.
Yes.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. A lot of people don't know about that one. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but that's my dude, okay? Let's see. And then I love Dead Knobs and Broomsticks.
Oh, yes.
And Meet Me in St. Louis.
Wow. And my favorite didn't even make your list. Because my all-time favorites,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a couple, I guess. But The Sound of Music, I will land for. But that's older than you.
Yeah, Sound of Music was on my list. I said Mary Poppins and then Sound of Music.
You said which? Mary Poppins.
I said Mary Poppins and Sound of Music. That was number 2.
Oh my gosh. I miss Sound of Music. Yes, well, I would have rejoiced right there. Sound of Music is my all-time.
I love it.
Absolutely. And then I went to a dinner theater, and Marie Osborne, who you may not.
I've heard of her.
Yeah, you see. The Osbournes were like the be all and end all when we were growing up. Donnie and Marie, that was like, and I took my niece on her 8th birthday to a dinner theater of Sound of Music, which was like beyond perfect for me. And
was it good though?
Beyond perfect, because
I'm picky.
In the Sound of Music where they're at the big dinner, whatever, and the kids go up to bed, but up the staircase or whatever. They made us a part of that dinner theme, like their dinner. So they actually came out into the tables and like we were part of their, like, in the sound. Oh my God, it was amazing. As if we were in the Sound of Music. I was like,
oh, that's amazing. Now, see, that's good. We have a dinner theater here, and I got upset because it wasn't at them. It wasn't their fault. They really just followed the script and they followed the music. But whoever adapted Chitty Chitty Bang Bang from a movie to a play has to see me, because what he did was a travesty. It was not okay.
Oh no!
It was not okay. Like, you already know, it's not a super raunchy movie. There's nothing wrong with the music that was in there.
Yeah.
He took the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, like the actual song. He altered that. He added a song that really was not even.
No.
He shouldn't have done it. And I was just so upset. And I was like, why would you ruin Chitty Chitty Bang Bang like this? Me, my dad, and my brother were like, we don't like this. No. We were counting the whole time, because once we heard it, we was like, that's not it. No. And my mother was like, y'all need to cut it out right now. We were like, nah, you ain't gonna stop this one. No. You can't make me. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. And during the intermission, we were just like, Mother, you cannot tell me this is okay. She was like, I don't think it's that. See, that's the problem. No. You don't touch stuff. If you're gonna do it, adapt it to make it make sense to a stage play. But don't go adding and taking away and doing stuff you don't need to do.
No, you can't.
I don't like that. So
not at all.
But yeah,
West Side Story. Have you seen that live? You've seen it live?
No? I wish. Wow. No. I have the movie on DVD. My DVD collection is kind of extensive. And people come and see me for certain things because they're like, don't you have this? And surprisingly, no. But no, I had to have it on DVD. And some people think, like, the ones they did live on TV, they did Sound of Music live on TV with Carrie Underwood. And that one was actually really good.
That was, yes.
I did like the Wiz live. I did like it. I have that in my DVD.
Oh, you saw that live?
The one they did a Wiz live on TV.
Right. Okay.
And it was actually really, really good. And people were upset because it wasn't like the Motown, but I was like, y'all do realize the Motown version was adapted from the stage play, which was on Broadway, which is what they took it from. But people don't know things like that. So you have to You have to say that. But outside of musicals, I also right now I took a break from getting my nails done, but I was very much every 2 weeks. Me and my nail tech had to have a conversation, and she had to get my nails together. I'm natural, so under these braids, it's a big old afro.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would, give her a nice TLC of a hair wash day. It's a full day. And most of the time, me and my best friend, like me and him, do a lot of things together. So, even with his job, he works like 6 days a week.
Okay.
So me and him try to find different things to do, different restaurants to try. If you want to make me happy, bring me some food.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we'll try any new things that are in the area because he lives about an hour away. Okay. So we have 2 different places to figure out in Orlando.
Right on. 2 different neighborhoods to explore.
Yes, and then he's like 30, 45 minutes from Orlando. So then we go explore that too. So we're just, Florida's big, but I can get to at least to Orlando. Anything past Orlando, I ain't going. It's just too far. Miami is like 5.5 hours from me. So
wow.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
I'll fly, but I ain't gonna drive.
No.
I'm kidding.
Did George Floyd and his murder affect you or the work that you do at all?
Yes. Now, when we get to everything else that happened throughout the summer, and forget COVID, that didn't affect me, but everything after that has affected me. And I was doing okay when it first came out about George Floyd. I was doing okay. Then the story started unfolding, and I'm literally looking and staying in the space of a whole Black man. Yeah. And so it was just like, that could have been him. And for him, he's one of the people in my life, like, you can't say anything about him. You can't do anything to him. Yeah. I will literally catch a charge behind that man. So if y'all, like, it just, and then I started thinking about my brother, my father, my cousins, like my friends, like it was a whole thing. And it was just so heavy because I didn't know George Floyd at all. Yeah. But to hear him yell for his mother that way, and I'm not even a mother, I felt that as a mother, and I'm not a mother. I'm a godmother of 4, I think. The number throws me off all the time. But I'm a godmother first, and so to hear him yell for his mother that way, I broke. And so my company rubbed me the wrong way in the middle of that, because the CEO, the way she addressed it at first was so blanketed and like wasn't addressing what was going on racially in the country. Okay. It was more of a, we can't go back to normal things. We have to help our children realize their greatest potential. And we're like, what does that have to do with Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd? Yeah. What does that have to do with that? And then I knew professionally there was no way for me to send an email to say, you need to address the racial disparity that's happening in our very eyes. Like I couldn't find the right words, so I didn't say anything. Okay. She then came back out and realized her error. And she has made strides to like do better. Excellent. We have Juneteenth half day. Okay. From here on out, we get that. Yeah. And then she's done a lot of town hall meetings to do better with like in diversity and inclusion and trying to make things better and make things right. And I was like, that's a great effort. And I was like, I really appreciate the effort because she didn't have to do that. That's right. That's right. But she acknowledged, like, she was like, I grew up in New Jersey in the 70s as a white woman, so I have no idea how to address this or what you guys are going through or feeling, because it was just like, as the CEO, you have to be very careful what you say. And that kind of threw me off. And then I was just like, I can't possibly be working for a company that doesn't care when more than half of their population is people of color. There's no way. Majority of the kids that we service, from the adoption part of the company to the healthy families to the therapy and the group homes, majority of those kids are Black.
Okay.
So for you to not even, at first I was like, for you to not even acknowledge that says a lot about the company. But then when she went back and she started realizing her errors and actually wanting to do better, I was like,
yeah,
okay, ma'am, I appreciate that. Like, that's cool. But yeah, I had to just have a day where I was just sad and stricken, because I was still seeing, I only had like 4 kids at the time, and 2 of my kids were Black. And when I was talking to them, the little boy said he was angry and that he felt some type of way because he is a Black boy, and that he felt like that could be him. And then, we had to like.
How old are these kids?
He is 12.
Wow, eh?
And the girl, she is 13. But she doesn't like, she said it didn't make sense to her as to why we can't all be treated equal. She's never dealt with racism overtly. So she doesn't like really, she understands that it's a problem, but for her, it didn't affect her in the same way as it did my little boy, because she's never experienced it. So ever since then, it's kind of been up and down. And then with Breonna Taylor's, the decision that the Attorney General made, and it just was like, as a Black woman, like, I've been saying this since then, I'm like, as many things that we've had happen to us as a community, we still get up every day and we still go to work. We still care for our loved ones. We still take on being disrespected and mistreated and told what to do, how to feel, what to say. Because if I, like, even with my boss, she's not the CEO, but my supervisor of my job, like, even she doesn't get how she interacts with me makes me feel, and how it makes me feel different. Because with my white counterparts, you don't talk to them about how they talk to the teachers or how they come off to other people. That's not a conversation you have with them. Or you're trying to make it seem like I'm the only one billing low, so you have to come at me and tell me I'm responsible for my own work, or I'm responsible for other things that you said you give me help with. So it's always, because then I can't go off. I can't say what I want to say. I can't react the way I want to react, because then I'll be the angry Black woman.
That's right.
And it's just like, when it comes to, and right now, me being, I don't know, I guess I'm a millennial. I don't know. I didn't know I was a millennial. I thought millennials was 2000, and now, like, I don't understand. I was born in 92. What part of that is millennial? I don't know. But okay, fine. Whatever. Y'all want to rename stuff every 5 years, so we'll see what I am. We'll see what you call me in 5 years, because I was just, what was it, Generation X, Z, I was one of them letters, and now I'm millennial. So I'll see what you call me in another 5 years, I guess. But the argument right now with men of my age group is that either women just want you for money, or they say, oh, we need to protect Black women, but in the same token, they going off on us, telling us that if we would just submit and do all this other extra stuff, that Black women would be treated differently. Or you could be a man about yours and like think that we're just expecting the highest of you because we see you in a higher light. Maybe that's what it is, but you're too young and naive to figure out that women want you to step up and be a man, not just be somebody that you think we're gonna lay up and have babies with. That's not how this works.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's not gonna happen that way. So Breonna Taylor's like part really just threw me off, and then to see men talking about, well, we have to protect our women, but then in the same token, down talk or be mean and kind of talk about Meg Thee Stallion looks like a man. How you gonna protect Black women if she is a Black woman, but you keep calling her a man, or saying she's lying about what happened to her? Like,
okay,
it's a lot that has been bothering me lately.
Yeah.
So that's what's been affecting me the most.
Yeah.
And every time I turn around, we're losing people, major people.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's been a emotional year. And I tell people all the time, I am not a crier, but 2020 has made me a crier.
Yeah.
I have cried a lot.
It's interesting that the COVID and the impact of that was not as significant as the things that had to do with identity in terms of Black mental health, Black wellness, Black lives.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it be the men or the women in particular, given what's happened just this last week. It's really and then even the Chadwick Boseman dying.
That one probably hit me too. Like, I knew that man. Like, I was crushed because what he meant to us, like what he was a representation of.
Yeah.
It was like, and the fact that he was fighting this by himself, I think for me that's what took me the most, because you can only imagine what he was going through mentally and how it was just like, you fought that virtually not alone, because he had his team behind him. He had his support system. They knew. But to us, we're like, dude, how do you get up every day and do what you did? Because he did Black Panther, Endgame, 21 Bridges. And 21 Bridges, he was getting his behind whooped. Like, a lot. And I'm like, and I didn't watch Five Bloods. That wasn't something I wanted to see. But
I
it's
watched
like you went through some.
Did you watch Marshall when he did that one?
I think I did, but I have to rewatch it because a lot of his older movies, like, I know I didn't watch 42 because I have a hard time watching period pieces.
I did watch the James Brown movie.
I did watch that one.
It didn't matter what I've seen him in. Everything I've seen him in has been exceptional, like beyond belief.
Phenomenal.
And to rewatch it now, knowing that he was dying, like
it was like 16 to like 20.
Yeah.
Like from 16, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because I know with chemo and radiation and all that stuff he was going through, and for nobody on these sets to even realize he was going through that type of thing, like, I know we always be like, everybody can tolerate different things. And for me, I go through my own things, but that made me realize, like, I can do it. Like, there's no reason why you can't do it. Now, if there's circumstances out of my control, then I can't do it. But if it's me stopping me, I have to get out of that mentality. So that changed my perspective on a lot of things. Yeah. But for him, it was just a little hard. And my brother, like, he was crying like a little baby. And my best friend shed some tears too. So for them, I know what it meant, because it was just like, that was their favorite character. So it was like, and not even just favorite character, like 21 Bridges, my best friend rented it, and I'm pretty sure he's probably going to get it on Blu-ray now. So there's no telling what's going to happen there. But it's just like 2020. You had to take him too, like.
I
In
know.
the midst of all of this, you had to take him to like
Yeah.
what you were bored like.
Yeah.
It's just like I was like, we can't, as a Black community, we all grieved because
Yeah.
we was like, yo,
Yeah.
what's happening now? Like, why do we have to keep taking on all of this
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and
In
then it's
terms
been
of,
kind of interesting, but I need to get my therapist back.
okay, that's
She
a
was
mad
kind of,
question. In terms of self-care, like we have, the general activities, but what are you doing self-care wise for your mental health? How do you
yeah,
maintain that? As a therapist, of course, um,
yeah,
that is a fundamental part of the work that we do. If we
mm-hmm,
are telling our clients, little and or adults, that they need to take care of their mental health, it
mm-hmm,
is mandatory that we
mandatory.
do the same thing for ourselves. Um,
Yes, and I realized that because I'm good at not taking work home. I'm good at getting all of that energy or all of that, everything that we collect from our clients
uh,
in the session and throughout the day. I can see up to 5 kids in one day.
yeah, yeah,
So all of their different things, whether it be little or small, even though I know how to like take that off and leave it there, I
yeah,
still have to go and face and have my own time to speak with my own therapist because I may think I'm not taking it home, but some of it is still with you no matter what because
exactly.
it's inevitable. Like you care about your clients. You want the
Yeah,
best for them and you
yeah,
want them to do whatever it is they need to do to help themselves get to a better place. Now, of course, it took me very brief. It was a small window. I realized that I can't work harder than my clients.
no,
And
yeah, yeah,
it took me, I got burnt out really quick
yeah,
because between trying to get my clients to come to their sessions or show up to school to have their sessions,
yeah,
or even during my internship, trying to get my clients to want to
oh,
want the treatment. I was like, I can't do this for them. I
yeah,
can't. You
yeah,
can't.
yeah,
If they're not gonna want it, you can only do so much. And
yeah,
then realizing that I have to be okay. But sometimes you're not gonna touch everybody. You're not meant to.
yeah,
And sometimes they may not like your approach. Because for
yes,
me, I need someone to tell me the truth, even if it hurts. It'll hurt my feelings. I
yes,
will probably go and be upset and go have my moment and wallow. And then I have to pull myself up by my bootstraps and be like, okay, well, they said this because they care about you. So what are you going to learn from that? And
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
I go to my therapist and she'll try to tell me to do something. And I'll be like, listen,
yeah.
I don't know if I really want to deal with that emotion right now,
Mm,
but I'll do it because you told me to. I'm very forthcoming. Like I don't want to talk about that, but since we're
yeah,
here, since it's out there, might as well
yeah,
deal with it.
yeah,
And I realized that if I'm going to tell my kids that they have to be okay with being open to dealing with their problems, I have to be able to do that too.
exactly,
So, and
exactly. You have
in
to
order,
model the behavior you're
yeah,
trying to teach. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So,
Um, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for coming on and
thank
sharing.
you so much for having me.
I'm wondering if there's anything else that you'd want the audience, well, one thing, where can people reach you should they be interested in connecting with you?
Okay, so I do have my new Instagram. I just restarted it. I had to
Excellent.
redo it because I decided that for moments like this, where I need to say tough reflections or verdicts or something about how to mentally simply be me.
Yes.
So it's simply be underscore. Hold on. See, this is
You know what?
fast.
I'll make sure that it's in the bottom of the description too. Um,
Yes, I did email it to you, so you
excellent.
have that already.
Yeah,
But sometimes actually saying it is simply be
excellent.
underscore U 15.
Simply
That's my
be
Instagram.
underscore you.
YOU15.
YOU15. All right, all
Mm-hmm.
right.
Okay.
I will make sure that it's beneath in the
Yeah.
description. But your
Mm-hmm.
contact information aside, is there anything else that you'd want people to know, or anything else that you'd want to share?
Other than thank you so much for having me. My blog site is actually under construction, which is why I didn't send that part to you. I'm
Okay.
working on it. I have to redo the whole thing. I That's part of my biggest thing is writing.
Oh,
Other than that, that'll be up soon, but they'll be able to find that through my Instagram once
oh,
it's
right
done.
on. Oh,
So
of course. That's right.
so it's definitely been a great experience talking to you.
Yeah,
And this is like one of the greatest things because it brings all of us as Black therapists together
yeah.
and allow us to just hear different versions of experiences or what we've been going through, and allowing other people to see that vulnerability from therapists is kind of cool, especially in our community. So thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you so very much for coming. Um,
Yay.
yay, this has been wonderful. This has been
Yes, thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you ring the bell? Can you subscribe to this channel? Can you share this message with friends and family? Let them know. Black therapists speak. Bye now.